joining us this morning, guys. We're super excited to present this session to you today on AML compliance for the real estate space. We're going to be going over whatever your real estate agency needs to know before that July 1st deadline. Joining us today, we've got Max and Miles. Before I formally introduce them, I will just kick off the agenda for today's session. So you've got a bit of an understanding of what we're going to cover. 60-minute session, we're going to be breaking it down for you in plain English so we can really understand what's happening. I've done a lot of research myself in this AML space, which was new to me, and it was very confusing for me to try and get my head around it. So today's session is going to make it very easy to understand what we need to do. We're going to be covering the deadline and what is so important about that. We're going to be covering off what is Tranche 2, what we need to know there, and then the changes for our agency, what needs to change for our agency with regards to these new reforms. We'll then go into the 6 compliance obligations that we need to be meeting as real estate agencies and what AML Assured can then help assist us and what solution they're going to bring to or are bringing to the real estate space around these AML Tranche 2 reforms. And then at the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A if we do have any questions that need to be covered or answered off that we haven't gone over in the session. So it's a basic agenda for you. So for those of you who haven't done my trainings before or seen me around before, I'm Casey Lawrence, Director of the Rental Network, which is a training and consulting agency in the real estate space. And I'm proudly joined today by Max and Miles, who are the founders of AML Assured. AML Assured has been built specifically for the Australian real estate professionals alongside real estate agencies who have helped Max and Miles build this platform specifically for our industry and space. They are also experts in the AML CTF space, specialists in that area and in the real estate industry. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Miles, who will kick off the first part of our session. And any questions throughout, please jump in the chat or take yourself off mute. We want to make sure everyone leaves here with a clear head about what is required of them and what they need to do moving forward. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope you get a lot out of the session.
Thanks, Casey.
No worries.
Thanks, Casey. So jumping into it first, as Casey mentioned, the deadline and what it means for your industry. Pretty much Tranche 2 has come about by AUSTRAC, who AUSTRAC are the regulators for the AML CTF laws that have been in place. So they've been working with all industry experts across real estate, accounting, and law firms to put together these regulations and tailor them specifically to the industry niches. So we'll jump into why the deadline is real and what it means for your industry. So essentially, the deadline is July the 1st is when AUSTRAC expect all agencies to be compliant and up to scratch. The daily penalties after the 1st of July for non-enrollments will hit the industry agencies quite hard. It comes at a 3,700 to a 18,700 penalty for non-enrollments per day. And you're not alone in this. There are up to 40,000 real estate agencies that will feel the brunt of this. Along that, AUSTRAC has put together a lot of starter kits to help agencies prepare, and this includes help in tailoring your risk programs and risk assessments. It's critical to understand that it's not that non-compliance is a criminal offence and it's not just a fine. So we'll jump a bit more into what actually is Tranche 2. So until now, the AML laws applied to banks, financial services, and the gambling industry, and real estate wasn't covered. Tranche 2 now changes all that. From July 2026, every real estate agency will become a reporting entity under the AML and CTF Act. Why property? Property is one of the highest risk channels for money laundering globally, and AUSTRAC are now closing that gap to help prevent this and prevent money laundering across Australia and save individuals from financial crime. So to touch on a couple of the main timelines. The preparation window is now, so you can start training your teams Enrollments open on the 31st of March 2026. This is when you can enroll your agencies with AUSTRAC and get on the way to becoming compliant. From July 1, 2026, full compliance is required. There's no exceptions, no extensions, and no grace periods. From there, every year, annual compliance reports are due on the 31st of March. So, how is this going to change your agency and how you work operationally and the impacts? First of all, the introduction of the buyer and seller verifications, which are known as KYCs, Know Your Customer, and KYBs. So, going forward, there's a buyer and seller verification on every property transaction. This means that you'll have to identify and verify before the settlement and as the contract is signed within 28 days of the purchasing. This includes name ID. If it's done through a business or corporation, you'll need the business structure, and these will have to be checked against government databases to verify. Beautiful. So ongoing monitoring. Ongoing monitoring is just meaning that these initial verifications are not just a one and done check. Customers and risk must be monitored continuously across the transactions, and any change in the customer's activity must be recorded and must be re-reviewed to assess the risk and do your due diligence as a reporting entity. So you might be wondering how you're going to understand this further and how your teams are going to cope. Staff training is one of the most critical obligations out of all AUSTRAC's key obligations. This ensures that your team and your staff are all trained up to identify the risk and identify what suspicion looks like and how they're going to handle this accordingly in their day-to-day work. The reporting and tipping off trap. So what happens here is if an agency does deem something as suspicious, it will be raised to your AML compliance officer. From there, your AML compliance officer will review the case, understand if they are able to mitigate the customer or whether they do have to report this to AUSTRAC. By reporting it to AUSTRAC, they will be reporting it under a suspicious matter report. And this has to be done within 3 business days of identifying the suspicion for any money laundering offences. On the counter-terrorism side of the act, anything under sanctioned individual has to be reported to AUSTRAC within 24 hours. Regarding tipping off, this is a critical area of the SMRs. So it is illegal to tell or inform the customer that you deem something suspicious or that you will be reporting them to the government. It is also critical that you keep this within the team and who needs to know. So it's in-house and there's not any chance of this going further into the public. So the six key obligations your agency must
Sorry,
know.
Miles, just back on that. I had myself on mute. Sorry. What does SMR stand for?
SMR is a suspicious matter report.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Beautiful. So the key obligations your agency must have as we come into the July landscape. First, enrolling with AUSTRAC. As we know, 31st of July is when the portal opens with AUSTRAC and you can begin to start registering. You'll have until July the 1st to get this done. So verifying the identities, as we discussed, that KYC, Know Your Customer, or KYB, Know Your Business, verification checks on every vendor and every buyer. If there are risks that appear, further enhanced due diligence may be required, followed by that suspicious matter report. So, creating your AML program and risk assessment. One of the key obligations is that you have a compliance documented framework specifically tailored to your industry. This is required for you to assess your customer base and the potential of money laundering within your customer base. This isn't a direct reflection of your business or anything that you are doing. It's purely based on your customers and your tolerance. Your AML program will be designed to address how you mitigate, report high risk cases, and what your processes and policies are on those cases. Training your staff. As we know, some teams have 20 staff, some teams have 5. Austrac doesn't care how many people you have. They expect all people that are dealing in this space to be trained and understand the potential of money laundering and where to pick up red flags and identify suspicious activity. So the reporting suspicious activity, as we touched on, from the time you identify any suspicious activity, you have 3 days to report it to AUSTRAC for the money laundering and that 24 hours for the terrorism financing offences. Last of all is keeping records for 7 years. One of the main obligations for AUSTRAC is that for each property transaction, customer verification, everything is audit ready and audit proof and time stamped for 7 years in case they want to go back and look at something. What happens here is they might have an SMR that comes in and 4 come in over different entities. So if they want to go back and look at it, they can understand the timeline of the events and make sure everything adds up. So, know your customer and know your business. Explain. Let's dive into that in a little bit more detail. So, know your customer. This is verifying the identity of the individual and buyers within a selling transaction. So, as we touched on, every individual client will need to be assessed and verified within a transaction. For individuals, this is the buyer and the vendor involved in the real estate transaction and anyone who's listed on the title. What do you need to do and what do you need to collect? So, identity information is critical. What you need from the vendor or the buyer is the full legal name, the date of birth, residential address, and government ID to then verify that against the databases. 3-minute digital process. How does this work? So the agent sends a secure link to the buyer or the vendor. From there, the client will upload an ID onto their phone. It will then send it back to a system. That system will then verify that customer against databases globally and within Australia. And then the evidence and the files will be recorded in that software straight up for you to use. Why it matters? So this is to prove people are who they say they are. So this stops identity fraud and stops money laundering through property. As we know, AUSTRAC requires verified records on file for every property transaction. Noel, question?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, just I was a bit slow. Just 2 steps
That's okay.
back. When we're sending that 3-minute digital process, what happens when we're dealing with a client that doesn't have the know-how to manage that, i.e., an older client?
An older client. So there are a couple different ways touching on our software, which we'll touch on in a bit. We do have a mobile phone view where you can sit with that customer and do it manually with them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our solution to it.
Yeah.
How we mitigate. So yeah, we have that mobile view where you can be with them as we understand your agents are on the road and dealing with customers face to face. And if they do come across an older client, we do offer that solution. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All good.
Thanks, Noel.
Beautiful. So what's a KYB? So know your business. This refers to verifying any corporate structure or trust or anything that is bought through an SMSF involved within the transaction. So breaking this down. So this is anyone who's not an individual. This is people that are buying through their company, through their trust, partnerships, through their super, and dealing within a property listing. So what do you need to collect for this KYB? So you need to know the business and the ownership details. This includes the ABN or the ACN. From there, you'll have to understand who the UBOs are, so the beneficial owners of that company, to understand who actually controls it and also who the directors are. And also, if they're buying through a trust deed is applicable. Entity lookup plus director KYC. So upon verifying who that business is and who the owners are, Austrac have a standard where any beneficial owner of an entity that is purchasing a property does then have to go under a KYC check as well. So you might come across a property that is owned by three different people and they are all 30, 30, 35, whatever their structure may be. Anybody that sits over the 25% threshold of ownership does then have to will have to then go under a KYC for your due diligence. So this is about closing the corporate loophole. Money laundering often does hide behind companies and trust structures. The know your business applies this critical avenue where it actually maps out who actually owns the business and who benefits, not just on the paper. So more behind the scenes of what happens with the business. So this is more manageable than it looks. I know it does seem like a lot. There's a lot of new reforms. You're already dealing with a lot of compliance in the real estate space, and you're not alone. So there's over 40,000 real estate agencies that are all staring this same deadline at the moment. The ones who feel calm about it, they are the ones that are starting to pick it up now and get ahead of the reforms early and understanding the deadlines and what it means for their businesses. Talking about the legislation from Austrac, it's 120 pages long. The actual process of this doesn't have to be too confusing. For your agency, what you need to know is you have to complete your training, you have to verify your customers, ensure that everything is documented across your processes, report any suspicious activity, and complete your AML risk programs and assessments. In these processes, we're talking minutes, not really hours. The compliance sounds heavy until you see how simple the workflow can actually be. So your agents don't necessarily need to change how they work. This is really critical, especially when agents are out day to day negotiating and selling and listing properties. At the end of the day, they're not compliance officers, they're salespeople. The right system does handle this behind the scenes while focusing on their day to day operations.
Yeah. Look, guys, I mean, thanks so much, Miles, for obviously sharing the information in regards to all the new legislations. If anyone has any questions right now, feel free to jump in and ask those questions now in regards to, I guess, the obligations or anything you may have just heard that may not have kind of aligned with you. We're more than happy to answer questions along the way. So I just thought I'd jump in and say that.
I've got a few questions. Do I
Yeah.
count?
Yeah.
I thought this might be a few things that some people might be wondering too. So I'll be
Yep.
happy to jump in and ask some. Training age, is there any specific or who are the training agencies? Our staff need to be trained and undertake the required training. Who's providing that training for the staff?
Max, do you want to jump in there? Or
Yeah. Look, I think it really comes down to, I mean, there's a number of providers. I'm sure everybody right now has been blasted with emails and phone calls about different solutions that they can obviously dive into and kind of I guess take on as these new
Yeah.
legislations come into place. So it really depends on, the provider you choose. Some providers, I guess, may just focus on specific training and that's kind of it out of all the obligations. And then there are obviously other providers out there that may look after an entire end-to-end solution. So realistically, that's training covered, the programs covered, all those checks. So the KYBs and the KYCs Miles touched on. So look, we recommend obviously at the end of the day, there's a lot to go over, and it seems that there is, I guess, a lot that Austrac is putting on your plate right now. But it brings me back to that first point. I guess having a strong solution in place where your team at the end of the day, the most important people in regards to this, making sure it's manageable for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So at the end of the day, uh, I personally, if I was, had an agency, I wouldn't want to have to be, making my team jump from tool to tool, as I think that would just be a bit of an
To
operational
meet those
burden.
required six obligations. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover, you know what I mean? And Miles did state, I mean, the way Oztrack are obviously rolling out a lot of this information right now. I know that something we've kept hearing lately is a lot of these boutique and smaller agencies right now feel like they could be getting left in the dark quite a lot. I mean, especially when Oztrack are putting out, 120-page docs, you know what I mean, expecting you guys to go over that and read everything. I mean, as a small business owner, I understand you're already wearing a number of hats, so
Yeah.
then for them to kind of come in and I guess, make you look into all of this. I think that's where it comes down to making sure that you pick a provider that not only makes sense for you guys, but is going to make this entire transition as seamless as possible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And so having sorry, I've got a few more.
No, fire away.
What
No,
I'm
what
no,
ready.
would
no, no, Narelle's got her hand up as well.
okay, go Narelle, jump in.
That's all good. I did just want to also clarify, is this just pertaining to residential sales transactions?
No, this is Miles. Maybe you touch on this if you'd like.
No, no, this is across residential, any business transactions, anything that is a change of title or any property transaction across commercial and residential.
Yeah.
Okay, that hasn't not been clarified with Austrac, just so you know. It's been really hard to find an answer to that with what I have been working on for the last few weeks.
Gosh.
A
Yeah,
lot of it is so geared for residential, and I'm predominantly a commercial agency.
Yep.
yeah,
So
no,
even more so, you feel like, well, it's nothing pertains to the commercial industry once again. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's extremely hard to get that really pinpointed.
no, I completely understand. Max and myself actually sat with a commercial property company 2 days ago, I believe, and they were exactly the same. They felt in the
Mm.
dark.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been so geared towards the residential side, even mentioning on Austrac when a residential sale happens, this is your process, blah, blah. And it, yeah, made it sound just very specific to residential. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, completely understand. I guess that's why we've had one of our main focuses building this has been on that know your business to ensure that we do accommodate for that property sales when it's a corporation or a trust or anything like that.
okay.
And,
Yep.
and just on that, Norel, look, like we hear you. I mean, you're not the only one kind of bringing up points like this. I think,
No, we never,
this
never
is
would be.
Yeah, I mean, this is all new to Austrac as well. I mean, Australia are like 7 years behind in all
Yeah.
this AML
Yep.
stuff, so they're learning things as they go. So I guess it is a bit of it's shambles at the moment, but I
Yeah.
think as time goes on, things will be ironed out accordingly. And I guess this brings it back to that point, on making sure you've got that correct provider that understands not only the entire process in the AML space, but someone that actually understands your industry as well as they would be adapting with you guys, you know what I mean? And I guess learning off each other to a degree.
Yep.
But I hope that
Yep.
answers your question and thank you
Yeah.
for
Thanks.
asking.
And
Thanks.
clarity, hopefully, yeah. So what would be a red flag for suspicious activity?
Miles?
Red flags and suspicious activity can be things from one, a customer, if you're dealing with the customer not face to face, they're refusing to provide any of that KYC information. Austrac do see that as a red flag. In terms of property, if you're seeing the same customer buy and sell houses very under what the going rate may be, they can see that as that quick quick money, quick movement of funds. They call it rapid movement of funds. So what they're sort of trying to do there is just clean that money consistently. They don't really mind if they lose 50 grand. They just know that what is coming back is legit. There are other scans that happen. So we do scan individuals against government databases, especially globally. So to check if the customer is on a sanctions list, we do have adverse media screening as well. So you might see that Johnny was locked up 3 years ago for certain crimes or things like that, you can do your due diligence on that customer directly. There also is a political person status as well. So the reason that they are sort of they're not necessarily red flag, but they require more due diligence because they're more susceptible to bribery in the positions that they hold. So
Yeah.
if you had a local mayor of a little country town suddenly buying a $25 million house in Turak, you have to sort of weigh up, does this align with what his role is, and can he actually afford it based on his government role? So
Yeah.
little red flags like that, we do happy to touch on it in more details.
Yeah.
But
But I
hopefully that
guess this
answers.
that would kind of form part of the training, wouldn't it? How to identify
Exactly.
the red
Correct.
flags.
I was just going to
Correct.
literally jump in there. I
Yeah.
think being able to spot those
Yeah.
suspicious things, I guess, that come about. I
Mm.
mean, I feel like a lot of people right now are thinking, well, I've never thought that way before, so how
Yeah.
am I
And
meant to
now we're
start thinking that?
detectives. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
literally. So I think that's where training is super, super important. And then on that, as well as making sure the training actually makes sense. Um, for not just obviously you as a director or a principal, but your agents as well. Because at the end of the day, they are there to sell and list property and negotiate. You know what I mean? Not to become full-time detectives, as Casey
Yeah.
kind of just mentioned. So that's a really important part to these new legislations is making sure that training is obviously realistic and easy to understand and follow along. Again, not only for you, but also your agents, who I feel, and from what we've heard, are the most important people at an agency. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones
Yeah.
dealing with the customers constantly. And yeah, we just want to make sure that I guess they have a strong understanding on really what's going on.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I do have more questions, but we'll keep going and then I
Yep.
can jump in at the end if
Perfect.
yeah.
No dramas. Well, look, I think we've already kind of started touching a little bit about on exactly who we are and what we do. So again, we're AML Assured. We're Australia's first end-to-end AML compliance solution built specifically for real estate, and that specific sector. So yeah, I mean, just touching on a bit about how this has all come about. Uh, we have worked closely with experienced individuals within the space throughout the entire journey. Our entire team is all based here in Australia as well, from myself and Miles to some of our support team, alongside our developers as well. So we have a great in-house team that not only understand obviously AML, but the real estate sector as well, and the way you guys actually work through your day-to-day operations. So we'll jump into the first section, which is, I think, and I believe, the most important, I guess, part to these new legislations, which are conducting those checks that Miles brought up previously or earlier, the KYCs and the KYBs. So the way we do this in our system is your agents will jump on, send a secure verification link to that specific vendor or buyer. And literally, as you see stated, this takes seconds. So there's other providers out there right now where it may be, for instance, they're offering a done for you service. At the end of the day, that done for you service really is just, we believe, clicking a button, or if there's an integration involved, let's say with your specific provider and the CRM that you guys are currently using at your agency, that can realistically just be the click of a button. So you're sending that information straight to that client, and then the next step they'll be doing is they are verifying, as Miles kind of touched on before, their identity over the phone. So they just receive a secure link where they'd come on, take a photo of their ID, fill out some really basic information, and then basically click submit, and then that would show back up on your end as a stored, I guess, record that you guys are able to export whenever you need, and also have stored on our system for 7 years. If there's any questions in regards to that, feel free to jump in. Here we just have a really kind of brief example over our actual structure of our system. Again, so look, we are integrating with a large number of the CRMs you guys are currently using. So instead of double handling, there's really once your agents or your team have uploaded that specific customer into your CRM, our system would automatically pick up on that. And all you're doing from within your CRM is just clicking an AML check button, which is going to send that verification link to that customer. And then the only time you really need to come back into our app is if you do require to have a look at some of the scans and the screenings that we've just done on that specific customer. Um, yeah, another point I think I'd touch on here as well is this is a seamless process. So honestly, it takes seconds. It does not take or doesn't have to take hours or over 20 minutes as it may sound when obviously AUSTRAC are requiring you to go out and take a look at all that information in regards to sanctions and adverse media. That is something we're doing on our back end. So again, you guys are just by the click of a button, our system will pick up on all the research it currently needs to do to pick up on everything. Going over everything we cover at AML Assured, again, is that complete Tranche 2 coverage. So no matter what tier you fall kind of into, you will be covered, which would include obviously those identity verification checks, building out your risk assessments and your AML CTF programs, all your staff training, which we've built so it's role-based. A massive thing that we've noticed is kind of touching on the point before where you haven't hired your agents to become detectives, and even in regards to all of these new legislations, they don't need to know absolutely everything about AML. That would be the person who you have, I guess, put in place as your compliance officer, where they would obviously need to know a lot more detail and in depth about AML and the procedures that need to take place. So again, even on the training, is everything is structured around already real life scenarios that your team are already facing, and then we're just tying that into actually how that would work with AML. So realistically, it does make sense for you guys as opposed to going out and I guess doing training maybe with other providers out there who are kind of catering for lawyers and accountants. The last thing obviously you want to be is jumping on a training module where it feels like, it's built for an accountant or a compliance officer at a bank or something. And then reporting as well. So we're in discussions with AUSTRAC as we speak. So when I guess a suspicion does come back and you need to report that to AUSTRAC, being able to do that again within the one platform. Miles would be able to touch on this, but a lot of these reports that AUSTRAC, like these SMRs, a suspicious matter report, can take hours to fill out. And our biggest thing is making sure this is as seamless and easy as possible for you guys. So there's a lot of automation involved. There's no double handling. So realistically, from something that really could take 2 hours, can really be shaved down to take no longer than 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Zero disruption to your workflow. So again, I guess this kind of touches on that point I was talking about before, where we have been speaking with a large number of CRMs in regards to integrating with them. Our biggest goal and our North Star really is we don't want you guys to really have to come onto our platform at the end of the day. The only things you need to be on our platform for is at the start of everything is obviously getting your team trained, building out your risk assessment and your programs. But other than that, if you guys can conduct all your checks and kind of continue your existing flow and staying in your CRM, we feel like I guess we're doing our job as best as possible. So that is our goal. So it'd be great at the end if you feel free, if you want to have questions at the end about what CRMs you guys use, and you can ask us if we are speaking with them and have a current integration with them. Your clients won't even notice. So this is a massive thing. We feel as, some people have existing clients and at the end of the day, I know personally myself, if I get a no caller ID, I barely answer it, or if I ever get sent a random link, I'm never clicking it. So this is something we've already thought about and we feel like we are steps ahead. So with when everybody does, I guess, sign on to AML Assured, you will also be sent toolkits. Inside these toolkits are all client communication documents. So pre-written emails that you can actually like sequenced emails that you can then actually send off to your customers. to kind of notify them about the new regulations that are coming into effect in July. So you're kind of warming everything up, and obviously you guys will get questions. You're going to get a bit of pushback from this potentially. So we have all the docs required for you guys to send over to them. So realistically, we really, our goal here is to think about every single, I guess, roadblock or bottleneck you're going to kind of come up against, and making sure we've kind of bridged that gap for you. And again, making sure that we're focusing on real estate specifically. That is our North Star when it comes to all of this, as there will be a lot of that. Australian-based support, again, kind of touching on what we did before. Our entire team is here, based in Australia. So whether we're based in Melbourne, but still we're a phone call away. So if you did ever have any questions, you're not dealing with people that are in a complete different time zone in regards to the support team. And obviously myself and Miles, our numbers are publicly available. So you've got two founders basically happy to help you guys out along the way. So you're not kind of just getting on board and then we're leaving you in the dark. As I personally know from a lot of tools I've used in the past, that's sometimes how it feels, and especially going into regulations like this where it does feel quite daunting. The last thing we want to do is kind of offer you a tool and then vanish.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's great.
Um, Again, I think a massive thing that obviously is a very relevant topic is how much does all of this cost? So you guys have probably gone out and done a lot of your due diligence or received, I guess quotes or had to look at pricing from other vendors. We've made sure not only we're focusing on that specific workflow for you guys, but also the commercial side of things and how things are priced. So not just catering, I guess, for those larger organizations who have multi offices across Australia, but those two guys, those two people officers, who have to obviously take on all of these new procedures. That's something that we've catered for you guys. So our lightest plan is $79 a month. And we also have a really special option that we've specifically built, that is quite unique to us, where these checks that you guys will have to pay for across all providers, as when I say checks, those KYCs and KYBs, unfortunately, those do come with a price tag. What AML Assured has built in in our system, where you can pass that cost straight on to the customer. So realistically, all you're really worrying about is that subscription cost. And really what that subscription cost holds is all your team training, your programs, your risk assessments, holding and storing your data for 7 years. And I thought I'd touch on that. Everything is stored here in Australia. So we're not shipping that really sensitive data offshore, somewhere where we can't see it. Everything is here, stored safely in Australia, on land. And again, built for real estate and not banks. We feel like this is a massive trap, as there is a lot of noise in the space right now. There feels like there's a million and one providers out there, that may look, I guess, very strong and compelling as they have a strong presence in the space. But again, these guys are looking after everybody. So at the end of the day, it's a bit of like a one size fits all, but doesn't actually fit anybody. You know what I mean? And we've purposely come into this space focusing on the real estate sector, as we believe this is going to be probably the sector with the biggest impact, we believe. And making sure again that it is as seamless as possible for you guys, as easy as possible as possible for your agents, and at the same time we're not breaking the bank. So this is manageable not only on a work side of things, but also a financial side of things. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to shoot them away in regards to if there's maybe something we missed, or if you had a question in a bit about what we cover. If not, we
I
can
do.
yeah.
I'll wait though if you want to keep going.
Yeah, we might as well keep going.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
jump into that Q&A at the end.
Yeah.
So right now, guys, we are offering something
Oh,
quite.
sorry, Peter's got a question. He's just
Oh,
raised his hand. Peter, do you want to jump in?
Peter.
Yes, thanks guys for the opportunity.
Oh, good, mate.
I'm just wanting to know like the list of providers, the trainers. Where can we get that access, or can we search that up on the internet or such?
We
Uh,
like I we can send you a list after if you like, Peter. I can put something together
Yeah.
for you.
Yes,
I'm
please. Yeah,
yeah,
that'll be wonderful, Miles. Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to do that, mate.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
no dramas at all.
Thanks, Peter.
So right now, guys, what we are doing as a bit of a special thing is we are offering free access up until July. So you guys won't even need to put any credit card details in. There's no lock-in contract. So right now, you guys can actually come on to our software, start training your team, start building out your program and your risk assessment, appointing your compliance officer, and getting all those right procedures in place way ahead of the curve. And then obviously when July hits, that's obviously when we will set up payment gates. But it's not like all that information you guys have put in and entered is going to be lost and gone. You can just resume and kick off straight where I guess you guys have already adapted from. So uh, that is something we believe that is super beneficial. As you know, right now there are a lot of providers out there again that are expecting you guys to kind of jump on board and pay for, I guess, a program itself, pay for, I guess, training your team each individually. Where we want to make sure this is as smooth as possible for you guys. And I guess not only on just a compliance side of things, but at least you guys could come on board and get familiar with the platform, and not just you, but your team as well, and see if it is a right fit. If it isn't a right fit, that is totally fine. But we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd have one last slide here. You guys feel free to take photos of this. These are just some really key points in regards to the 31st of March and just AML in general. As Austrac are opening up their portal on the 31st, I thought I'd just touch on this is not required. You do not need to sign up on the 31st. It's just as they are opening up their portal. So you have up until July 1st to do so. Um, but yeah, that's just a misconception that we keep hearing quite often is, do I need to sign up on the 31st? And no, you do not. It's just Austrac is again opening up their portal, so you guys can get on and register your businesses.
So all of these steps here need to be before July 1st, completed before July 1st.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And look, I think I might even just jump on that actually is look, again, going from that point of this is new to Austrac and Australia in general. Austrac are not going to be like hounding at every single person to make sure everything is straighty 180 from the get-go. They understand that, this is a big shift and a big
Yeah.
change across all sectors. So as daunting and scary as it feels, I just thought I'd clarify that, yeah, that they are going to be understanding of everybody, especially those small offices. But the most important thing that they do want to see is that you guys are doing something about it. So it's not kind of just putting it on the back burner and thinking, oh, I'll figure this out later. They do want to see that you guys have started to, I guess, do something about it when July hits. But having everything in intact and you guys are on top, they're not expecting that. That's going to take obviously time to adjust and get used to. So I just thought I'd bring up that point before we jump into the Q&A.
Yeah.
And just quickly on this Q&A, guys, this QR code, feel free to grab your phones out and scan it. This will take you to our sign up page. Again, no credit cards are required. There's no lock-in contract. So you guys can jump on, start using the platform for free, training your team, building your programs and your risk assessments. And if it's not a great fit for you guys, that's totally fine. You can jump off and you wouldn't hear from us again. So there's nothing like that in place. But yeah, here we are. I guess the Q&As. I hope this has all been some good guidance for you guys in regards to what Tranche 2 is and how AML Assured hopefully could be a great fit for you guys. But yeah, I think Casey, if you wanted to jump in, maybe you had some
Yeah.
questions
How are we
or
feeling, guys? Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat about how you're feeling about feeling more informed. Are you feeling confused? Are we good? Okay. I had a couple of questions. Oh, good, Shay. Thank you. Shay's put a smiley face in there. Thumbs up from Peter. Great. Um, so you mentioned reporting, you need to report any suspicious activity to your compliance officer. Who is the compliance officer? It has to be someone within the agency. Are we needing to hire someone externally?
No, look, it again, this is one of those things where you constantly see on LinkedIn bigger real estate agencies and franchises are hiring compliance officers to look after their entire 25 offices. That's not expected for every agency. They're not wanting people to come in. That's where the training comes critical. So it's generally senior staff within the agency. So you're looking at maybe the directors or one of the senior managers. Um, but yeah, it's in-house. That's absolutely fine. Critical thing is just if you are being appointed as that AML CEO, is that you are trained accordingly and you understand that next step of training opposed to just the agent level.
Yeah, okay. Um, and then just more on the tipping off versus asking. So we're having to obviously do the ID checks. If a client is asking for those ID checks, but we've got to be, and then we might see something suspicious or find something suspicious, but then we're not allowed to tell them that we're tipping off. What's the fine line? How do we balance between that fine line? What do we say to a client when they're asking why we have to do those ID checks?
So we have templates that we've created to introduce, I guess, these new laws from Austrac and from the government, just like a how do you say, like an easy warming into the process and just a bit more of understanding of why you're being asked
Scripts and
for it.
dialogues. Yeah.
Just the guidance of just a background of why. In terms of the tipping off, so your sale won't stop essentially if there is a red flag. You continue as normal, the sale proceeds, and you just have to submit that SMR in the background. So the customer isn't going to understand that something seems off.
Okay.
You don't disclose that. The only situation where a sale will halt is if someone comes up on a sanction list. So dealing with a sanctioned individual is a criminal offense. So that is the only time where you cannot proceed with a sale, and you have to raise that directly with Austrac. But Austrac deal with that within 24 hours because it's so rare. It's not something that you will come across. It's just something that we sort of have to let you know that's the only time a sale will be halted. Otherwise, you proceed as usual, go about your business. If something is suspicious, customer doesn't know, it's just in the back end of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then assuming this applies to buyer's agents as well. Yeah. So if you've got a buyer's agent dealing with a client and we're also dealing with one, both parties are still required to do those due diligence, yeah, the checks. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone who is considered a reporting entity will have to do their own due diligence of the customer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And then I guess with your smaller boutique agencies versus your large franchise groups, obviously they're the same requirements involved. Same workload, lower workload, can that kind of be managed in-house alone? Like if people weren't to go ahead with a platform like yours, are they looking at then you've got the compliance officer. The compliance officer is the one then that has to keep the records and
Yeah,
the
look,
data.
essentially with for the smaller entities, without end-to-end solutions like ours or whatever might be out there, I guess the difficult part comes to if there is an audit and you are being requested data and you have to match up dates from four different platforms. How long is that going to take? And then training your staff across four different platforms, getting used to that in your day-to-day workload. It's just, I guess it's more just operational stress that can add and time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Was there any other questions anyone else wanted any clarity on, or I hope that you really got a lot out of today's session. I those of you who have done webinars with me before with other tech platforms or software that is in the real estate space would know that I personally don't fly the flag of any and all tech software or platforms. I am really passionate about this industry and the integrity of this industry. So when I see a software or a platform that helps the agents and the industry, I love bringing that to you guys to have an easier solution of managing. My background is in property management, and the property management space has recently gone through in the last few years big changes in the compliance space. And a lot of that was managed reactively once they realized the workload that became involved with having to manage things like safety checks and compliance. There was a lot of reactive actions happening there in terms of then having to hire or find a platform that was suitable to be able to manage. So if I can help make this process easier for you by bringing a platform to you in advance that can help you with this change and transition, then I am all for that. And that's what I found in AML Assured. I've done a lot of research in the AML space with the platforms, and the reason why I have bought AML Assured to you today is because I do really believe in this software. I have no dog in this fight at all. I just genuinely love the product, and I do think it will honestly help the day-to-day management of these new requirements that are coming in. So I hope you've got a lot of information out of today, but also some solutions if you're not sure where to go moving forward with what's coming in.
Yeah.
Vivek, did you have a question? Thanks, Peter.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just wondering, are you guys filming today's session? Trish couldn't get on, so
Yeah, the
Yeah.
replay. Yeah, the replay will
You'll
be sent out.
send the link after.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
no worries. Any other questions for today, guys? All good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. If you've got any questions, I'll send out Max and Miles' details in the replay email that will go out as well. But you've got the link there, also the QR code, which will have Max and Miles' details attached to that also. But yeah, if you've got any questions following today, you've got my details and you'll have Max and Miles shortly. So feel free to reach out for any questions at all. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.